Caballero, actor de doblaje en inglés, el gran Sean Schemmel, Goku. Hi, hola, ¿cómo estás? Spanish, I know a little bit more, but can we kill the music? So here's what we're going to do. This is unlike any other Q&A I've ever done before, and I know he's going to translate for me a little bit, or a lot, depending on how much we need. And typically, when I do a Q&A, I will do a panel on voice acting technique, or I will do a panel on and make it a giant ADD conversation, depending on what. So the way I like to do it is I'm just going to be talking to you about, I'll do vocal demonstrations, or I will answer any question you'd like. And I will be randomly picking people, so I'll try to make sure everybody gets a chance, because a lot of times what happens is somebody asks a question over and over and over, because I want everybody, most people to have a chance. I don't know if we have time because there's so many people here. So I've never done a Q&A like this, you know, with an open auditorium like this, so this is kind of new for me. And by the way, I don't mind, the photography is okay, but please, once we start, try to avoid flash photography, because then I start blinding and I can't see. But you can do non-flash photography is okay, okay? I appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, él va a empezar ahora a hacer las preguntas. Cero fotografías con flash porque va a quedar... Sí, va a ir, después no va a poder contestar. Así que, whenever you're ready, sir.
First of all, I want to say I'm thrilled to be here in Puerto Rico. You guys have been awesome. I've been treated so well. Everyone's been so kind to me, and I'm really, really excited. I had no idea Dragon Ball Z was so popular here. So,
oh, yes it is. Yes it is. Sean, you have no clue.
Yes, I don't.
Welcome to Puerto Rico, buddy.
Thank you, thank you. So I just want to start out by saying that, and basically this is just an open-ended Q&A. So, and I apologize to the vendors that you're going to be hearing my voice for the next hour, but sorry. That's the only room we had, a big one. So anyway, let's see. Hands for the first question. Hands for that, right here.
Who's your favorite Dragon Ball Z villain and why?
My favorite Dragon Ball Z. The question is, who is my favorite Dragon Ball Z villain and why?
Nice.
Do you want to, after questions are asked, do you want?
¿Quieren que conteste en inglés o quieren que yo les traduzca? English. Full English, man. Okay. Go ahead.
Wait. So my favorite Dragon Ball Z villain and why? Well, you know, Vegeta's a popular... but he's not really a villain in the sense that he becomes good, you know, slowly. And I'm a huge Piccolo fan, who's also not really a villain. He's in the beginning. So if I were going to pick the main villains, you know, the androids, it's so hard for me to pick because the android saga is, they're very creepy and very dark. I love the Cell Saga because of the Goku, Gohan moments, etc., etc.
Nice.
And Boo is hysterical.
Yeah.
So
insane. It's insane.
I'm gonna say generally Android, you know, Cell Saga with, and Dr. Gero is a really creepy, twisted. I mean, you know, they're ripping out Yamcha's heart right there. Just, you know, they're pulling it right out. So that was real. When I first saw that, I went, whoa! These guys aren't messing around. So. That would be my long answer, which I tend to give long answers, so I brought it. So let's see, who's next? Hands. Okay, right here with the queen hat, the hat, crown.
In any anime series that you have done so far, what is the most frustrating line that you have to deal with?
Frustrating language that I have to deal with?
Line.
Well, you know, this is a two-part answer. When you're dubbing anime, one of the things that can be frustrating is we have to match the mouth movements, right? So if we do a line and I do it the way I want to do it, and then it's too long, they make me shorten it in terms of my timing, and that affects the emotional content of it. So I have to find a way to make it fit emotionally within that short frame of time and still have the same amount of power and meaning. So that's a general frustration with anime. In terms of lines, it's really never badly written dialogue. I love writers, and badly written dialogue pisses me off because if it is good dialogue, man, my job is so easy. I know exactly how to do it. It's wonderful. If it's bad writing, I get so frustrated. And as I've done the character for so long, the writing has actually gotten way better. But even then, they'll still give me some leeway if I don't like it, because you kind of own the character after 12, 13 years of doing it. So they'll eventually let me just kind of do what I want. My favorite jobs, I did a show called Thumb Wrestling Federation where I played 12 different thumbs. They let me ad-lib anything I want. They just, they say, just do whatever you want, be funny. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want to do. So, those are my general frustrations with that. It's a very good question. Let's find someone else. Right here.
What advice can you give to people that want to go into voice acting and work on animation?
Wait a second. The question is, what do people who want to get into voice acting and animation, correct? For like how you want to do it? Well, here's the deal. You're in Puerto Rico, if there's voice acting here, then, hey, you're great. But the first piece of advice I give people is you got to move to where the work is. I currently live in the New York area. I'm actually considering going to LA because there's more work there. And I've been working in New York for about 10 years. Also study acting. The operative word in voice acting is acting. If you can do a bunch of wacky voices and can't act, you ain't working. I happen to be gifted to be able to do a lot of different voices, and if I couldn't act, I wouldn't get work. I know another actress friend of mine who only does about 4 or 5 voices, and she works just as much as I do because she's a really good actress. So the bottom line is acting. Study acting, study the craft. Now, little funny tips and tricks from the way I got good at voices. I started doing voices as a very small boy, and I would do mimicry all the time, always doing impressions, and not being scared and not being worried about offending people. I didn't care, and I made a lot of people very angry. And I still had a habit up into my 20s and 30s. I still had a habit of meeting someone, and if they had a unique way of talking, just to mimic them instantly. And then I realized I was offending people, so I didn't stop. I just did anyway. No, but and so training your voice to do different voices, but you don't want to. If you make a voiceover demo, if you can do a good Homer Simpson, you don't want to put that on your demo because it seems amateurish. But practicing that impression to train the acrobatics of your voice, yes, that's really good. Studying acting, developing different vocal characterizations. Michael Winslow, is in the Police Academy movies. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I don't do a lot of the voices he did, but what he taught me when I was watching his movies is how far the human voice could go. So I'd be watching the movies, and I couldn't do a lot of those special effects. I couldn't do a lot of that, but I tried, and in the act of trying, I stretched my voice and was able to wrap my head around different ideas and different ways of thinking about voices. I also study, when I'm developing a character, I study physiology and bone structure, and does it look like that sound is coming out of the mouth of that character that's designed. And there's a lot of detail that goes into, if I'm doing a monster like this, then it better, look like the monster drawn. Down to the mouth, or if they got a big nose, or whatever the dimensions are. I'm very detailed as about how that sounds. And then you have to mix that craft with acting, and that comes greater than the sum of its parts, and then you become awesome, hopefully. So that's what I'm hoping for when I try. I'm trying to be awesome. So let's see. Let me get somebody in the back. Way back there. Don't worry, I'll get to you guys. We get a lot of time here. Right behind the queen. Yeah, no, I'm talking to you right now. You got glasses on, and you're behind the queen girl with the crown on.
When did you first hear about Dragon Ball?
In the audition. And by the way, I know I talk very fast, and even my friends back home were like, you talk way too fast. So if I'm talking too fast or anything, let me know if whatever, because it drives me crazy.
It's all good.
I was a fan of anime in general before I saw Akira, I saw Ninja Scroll. I was, kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
Classic stuff, and I love anime. It's probably my favorite animation genre. And then I saw the open casting call, and then I started watching it like crazy to get ready for the audition. But all the episodes I was watching was just Gohan and Piccolo hanging out. And I'm like, there's only 2 characters in this show. I'm not going to get either of these parts, And I just was watching like crazy, getting ready for the role, for the audition. And I had not heard of it until that point. And I wish I had, because it's a timeless story of the Great Journey West and the Legend of the Monkey King. Those are ancient mythos, or mythos, if that's the plural, I don't know, are really interesting to me. So I'm very honored to play that legendary character. It is absolutely, I don't think, no matter what I do in my career, even if I don't know, did something crazy, awesome movie or whatever, Dragon Ball Z will always be the coolest thing I've ever done, I think. I mean, sure, I want to do other stuff and I want to make a living as an actor, but still, it's just got this special place. It was my first audition, so I feel very lucky. I'm a very lucky person. Yes, right here, yeah. Or wait, Naruto? Yeah, Naruto, right here. We're going to get over here. I'm going to come to you, cat guy. Okay.
What's your favorite Dragon Ball Z movie and why?
Well, I love these questions. It's like you guys just got back from school. What's your favorite thing and why? I love it. I like the Cooler movie and the Frieza Cooler stuff. I did like Lord Slug quite a bit, and I did enjoy the Broly movie only because Goku punches Broly in the stomach and then twists his fist and rips his guts apart, and that was like the only reason. I'm like, if you can punch somebody in the stomach and twist your fist and rip their guts apart, that alone was worth the price of admission. I was like, that is so cool. I got to see that when I first watched it. I hadn't seen the movie. We were watching it, and then I saw that scene, and then I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to do that. So anyway, we recorded. But as far as storyline, the whole Frieza Cooler, Cooler's Revenge, et cetera, et cetera. I think why? I think it's because Goku and Vegeta are really in big trouble, and I think the fecal matter has hit the fan, so to speak, and the android and alien. I don't know. I can't really talk about the story in great detail because I don't remember the exact storyline. I just remember thinking, this is my favorite Dragon Ball Z movie, when I was watching it. I mean, so I can't really give you a good why. Because keep in mind, I started recording this in 1999, and we finished probably in 2005 or, I don't know, 6? I don't know when we finished. And then we did Kai recently. So we just finished Kai. So the Dragon Ball Z story is still pretty fresh in my mind. And we don't get scripts in advance, and we don't memorize our lines. We just show up to work, and they go, get in the booth. Here's what's happening in the scene. Beep, 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 go. And that's it, and you better be on your toes. You got to work fast. All right, I told it.
You also did the opening, right, for Kai?
I sang the opening theme song for Kai for the DVD. Yeah, I did. Thank you. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a baritone, and the guy who sings that in Japanese is a tenor. So I was really trying to match that, That's right at the edge of my range. So I was working really hard to try to honor that recording. Excuse me. Okay, guy. I'm going to do that at the end, okay? Okay, so let's, as long as my voice holds out. Way back here, this woman back here, yes. And try not to feel like I give preferential treatment. I'm just trying to give everybody a chance. Random.
Have you ever ordered a pizza in a Goku place?
People ask me about that a lot, and I know that my girlfriend does not like it if I do the King Kai or the Goku voice in bed. I didn't say during sex, I just said in bed. I'm just saying, time to go to sleep. She's like, shut up. I was like, I want to go sleep now, time to go sleep tonight. So, but as far as ordering a pizza, I've never done that, but I have used my voice acting powers for evil. And because I'm a good mimic, I used to work at Steak and Ale before I was a voice actor, which we used to call Stuck in Hell. When I was in college, I was waiting tables, and then my manager talked like this, named Greg, and so he was the manager, so he could get free steaks. And so I would call the back kitchen and doing an impression of him, order steaks, and then go back as a waiter and say I'd say, hey, Greg, give me a couple steaks, okay? And then I go back, oh, these are for Greg, and I go back in and I eat them. Because they thought I was great, because I could fool it. And I've done this. I've done impressions of my friends, like in-laws, like my friend Brian, his mother-in-law called, and I could do an impression of him really well. So I'd answer the phone as him, and then she'd just start talking and telling all kinds of personal stuff that I should not know. And then no, this is not Brian, this is Sean. She's like, oh my gosh, oh. So I will do tricks, and I will fool people sometimes. Or if I don't want to talk to somebody on the streets of Manhattan, I'll act like I don't speak English, and I'll fake a language or whatever, So there are tricks I do, but I have not ordered pizza as Goku, because if I did, it'd probably be something like, yeah, I'd like all the pizzas. Just send me all of them. How many you have left? A couple hundred? Yeah, put everything on it, send all of it, and just, that'd be awesome. Okay, thanks. And then I instant translate, get there, and come back. No. So that's how I do it. So way in the back. Yeah, you, sir. Right here, this guy, you can see him right there. Raise your hand, yeah.
Have you ever considered to do voice acting for games and movies?
I have done voice acting for games and some movies. I have done, actually done some international film voiceover. There was a Mila Jovovich film I did some voiceover for. That was a Russian film. And I've done video games such as Shadow the Hedgehog. I played Black Doom in that. I played Ricardo, and I can't remember the title, Ricardo, and somebody knows my credits better than I do. Yes, and Max on Bullet Witch, and I've done all the Dragon Ball Z games. and I'm trying to think of anything else. And I've done a lot of Turkish films and television dubbed into English. So I've done some live action stuff and some Indian stuff. So, but I haven't done a lot of loop group is what they call stuff in America because it's a union work, and I've been a non-union actor for about 10 years, and so, but I'm thinking of changing that and going to LA and doing some of that. So yeah, that's the general goal. That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah, right here with the glasses. Yes, like my glasses, kind of.
What's your favorite Goku line?
You know, everybody asks me that, and I tend to like either the outtakes, which I can't really repeat here. The amount of cursing I cursed at Krillin when he hit me in the head with a rock, hit Goku in the head with a rock. The outtakes on that are hysterical, using a lot of F-bombs. So I like those lines. And I enjoy the Gohan moments, the father-son moments a lot, and I also like the lines when Goku is behind Gohan and is a ghost kind of, and he's going to beat Cell, and there's that imagery right there, and he's going to do it. He's only got one arm. I mean, that gets me. I mean, that almost chokes me up right here talking. It's so awesome. And when you're recording it, doing it, we do it in real time. And the first time we did it, I don't know if I remember just Gohan had been recorded, and they play the music for you and everything, and so it helps amp up your performance. So I don't really have a particular favorite Goku line, although I do remember when they were trying to, Chi-Chi, they're going to trying to get Gohan into school, and Chi-Chi's like, just tell him you like sports, and reading. And so Goku's trying to talk to King Kai, and he's got to leave, and he's like, I like sports! And, those little funny moments are what I like, or when he's eating. Yes, sir. What's that? Oh, I can't. I might. I do. I tend to not censor myself, but I didn't know how Puerto Ricans felt about that. So. I don't believe in censorship, so.
Oh, you're your family, man. You feel like
Your family, bro.
Yeah. Yes, you.
When you first started with the whole Dragon Ball Z, what was your reaction to the Kamehameha?
The Kamehameha?
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand what it was at first. And they weren't sure. I mean, I'd done some screaming for the audition, and that's a big part of the show. And just for the record, in recent years, for some reason, people think I'm doing a screaming double, meaning somebody else comes in and screams, or that the screams aren't real or created with some, machinery, like a synthesizer or a sampler. No, that's all real. I stay in the booth.
I've seen the behind-the-scenes videos, and it's you, man.
It's totally. It so cracks me up that people think that, And one of the reasons and I'll get to your question in just a second because I just forgot it. I digress so bad. What was the question again? Because I want to answer it first, actually.
What was your reaction to
the Kamehameha. And I didn't quite understand what it was. And they weren't sure that I could scream like that, but when I got the job, I'd done some screaming, and they weren't even sure I could do the Super Saiyan transformation. They were just gambling on the fact that I could do that. Luckily, I was a brass player for over 20 years. I was playing French horn in orchestras, and that requires a huge amount. And I was also a singer in choir, so that requires a huge amount of breath work. And the Kamehameha, I think first time I was like, what the fuck is this, Kamehameha what, And I got to apologize because a lot of the reason that some of the stuff in Z, which has been fixed in Kai, is stuff like loosely talking about the Kamehameha as Kamehameha and the Kaioken as the Kaioken, wasn't my fault. The producers and the companies from Texas, they're like, well, we just call it a Kamehameha. And I'm like, and I kind of bitched about it a little bit. And then later when we were doing, there are two schools of thought when you're doing a show. If you make mistakes, you correct them along the way, or you keep the mistake for consistency. For example, say you say Kamehameha on the first episode, well, now you got to say it for the whole series. I come from the former school where it's like, if you say it wrong in the first 10, 20, 30 episodes, then you figure out later, it's time to fix it. I believe in correcting things as you go along. So later in the series, maybe it was GT, I was getting a hard time from a director who was saying, well, it's Kamehameha. I go, no, I'm not going to say, because Goku was saying, something like, I've got to try the Kamehameha, or something like that. And he was referring to the Kamehameha. And I refused to go Kamehameha because I got so much flack from kids for saying it wrong, and I want to say it like it's intended in Japanese, right? So I'm kind of a purist. I am a purist in that regard. And so the director I gave him a hard time, and he said to me, he goes, don't ever repeat this because we're friends now, so he knows who he's talking about. So if you see this on YouTube, don't worry, I forgive you. But he got real mad. I mean, we had a fight, and he said, read the effing line. And I said, no, I'm not reading Kamehameha. I'm saying Kamehameha because I keep getting shit from everybody at conventions for saying Kaioken and Kamehameha. And that's not what it is. So at Kai, basically, we'd done this for so long. I basically, anytime I was like, no, not, and I would just not do it. And Chris Sabat, who's the director, was totally okay with it. So that's a long version, because I like to add anecdotes to the tangents. I'm a very ADD person, truly. And so my reaction was, what is this? But I also studied Tai Chi, so to me it looked like a big Tai Chi energy thing. And I thought it was very, very cool, really, really cool. And I am really disappointed that it probably hardly ever, never works, you know. Well, he'll do it, and it won't work. Blast cell in the face, oh, he sprouts again, he misses, oh, it's diverted. It never, how many times, I'm trying to think if there's any time Goku does a Kamehameha and somebody's obliterated and dead. I don't think it ever happens. No, he blew up a mountain. What?
It almost happened.
Almost happened, but it didn't. So they built this thing up to be this most badass move, and the spirit bomb's the same way. Oh, I'm building this up for 3 weeks. Doesn't work. Really? Thanks a lot. Here, Toriyama. No, I'm kidding. So that's a good question. So let's get somebody, let me get in the back. I've got some people in the front. Let me go in the back. Let's see you, young lady here. Yes, you. Yes, with the thing in your hair. And everybody has something in their hair, actually.
Oh, no. That's very common here.
Yeah. Is it on? Is that on, Draco? Oh, there we go.
Okay, now, I've been trying to ask you this, but can you please explain to us, like, what was your first, how did you feel when you got accepted to the Dragon Ball series and doing the role and getting the role as Goku?
Well, that's a really good question, and I've told this story a lot, and I'm surprised it's not all over the web, but I'm happy to answer it again because it's still a very good question. I got called by Chris. Here's a mistake I made as a young actor. After we auditioned, my personality is real similar to Goku's in a lot of ways, and when I got cast, Barry Watson said, I didn't cast you because you act like Goku, I cast you because you are Goku. And I was like, what does that mean? What the hell does that mean? And I'm less naive now, but when I got the part, I'm a very, very eager, happy, naive person in general. This is great, didn't that? You know, I was like a little kid, you know. And after I got the audition, one thing you never do as an actor, and I did it, and I shouldn't have, I called him every day. Hey, how'd the audition go? Did I get a part? Awesome. I was like totally like a puppy, you know. And Chris Sabat, who was the co-producer at the time, now he's the director, I don't know exactly who's the line producer, he was like, oh, Sean, yeah, we'll let you know in a couple weeks. Yeah, okay, Sean. You know, he plays Vegeta and Piccolo and many others. And so I kept calling, and finally I stopped calling, and about 2 weeks later he calls me and goes, hey, Sean, you're gonna get a part on the show. We're gonna cast you as Goku. And my reaction was, are you sure? Because my Captain Ginyu audition was really, really good. I just felt like another big no-no when you're an actor. This was my first audition. And are you sure? Because I thought I really nailed that Captain Ginyu. Sean, trust me, you want to be Goku. Trust me. You want to just show up, shut up, come to work. So I didn't really understand that Goku was the main character. And so I was like, I'm Goku, okay, cool, whatever. I mean, that was not a very interesting voice to do, because I like doing really strange voices. And to me, Goku wasn't that much different than my natural speaking voice. So I wanted to do monster, you know, I wanted to do that, which I got to do later in my career. And so I'm showing up to work, I'm walking down the hallway, I've seen pictures of Goku everywhere, and it's not quite dawning on me. We're in our first session, and I'm doing my first 3 acts in the Ginyu Saga, and I'm fighting, and then Chris whispers in the mic, you realize you're the main character in the show. You know that. I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Which totally made me really nervous, because like, oh no, now I'm the main character. That's, you know, tons of pressure. So after that moment, I was like, yeah. I was really excited. And he said, you know, basically put it this way, he said, you realize you're playing a character that's kind of the equivalent to Mickey Mouse in Japan. I mean, it's that big a character, you know. Yeah, this guy's saying maybe bigger. And I didn't realize that. And you know, it's, I'll be honest, it hasn't dawned on me. When I first got on the show, first couple of years, I'd meet people such as yourselves, and they go, oh, it's really great, you know, you're in the show, hey, it's really exciting to meet you. And now after doing it for so many years, the reaction is so much, such a bigger ball. It's almost like this big spirit bomb has been building up for 12 years, and now the reaction is just so, you're my childhood, you're a legend, all these things that make you feel so, it makes you want to cry. You know, you're really? And I sat down on a late bed when I was thinking about it, And I thought about all the TVs and all the little kids, and their brains are forming, and the synaptic pathways are firing in their head, and my voice is vibrating and affecting their brain, and millions of kids, and every day, and I'm thinking about it, and I went, oh, and it makes you want to pass out. You just go, holy crap, I could command an army if I wanted to. You know?
That big is someone named
Yeah, your sister-in-law. Your sister or sister-in-law?
Yeah.
Sister.
She named her kid Gohan.
So when that stuff kind of...
Oh, this is that, man.
I know it. And when that kind of stuff happens, I'm just like, I signed someone's birth certificate in Australia. They named their kid Vidal. And I signed the birth certificate, on the birth certificate. You know, so I guess the kid's now a valid citizen of Australia. Because I signed it? No, I don't know. But it's just so, it's so humbling and so flattering, and it makes all the time you spend. I mean, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that show. I would go back I moved to New York shortly afterwards. I'd fly back once a month to catch up, and I'd do 12-hour days in a row screaming my heads off. So it'd be like 10 to 1, 2 to 6, and it's like 7 to 10 or whatever, 12. And I was just exhausted, but I did it because of what I'm seeing right here with you guys. That's exactly. It's very, very, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I wouldn't change any of it, not at all. Anyway. So yes, over here, I'll answer the question right now.
Hello. Wait, is it true that you once fainted while screaming as Goku or something?
Okay. I said that as like a tiny story once, and it's just turned into this viral meme. I have never passed out in Dragon Ball Z playing Goku. However, one time during GT, when I was doing these really long streams, I had not been exercising, and I was not eating right, and I was really tired, and I also made a miscalculation. When you're doing streams like that, you're doing a calculation of the amount of air you bring in versus the size of your aperture in your vocal cords. And I was doing a much lower Kamehameha because I decided to make the voice lower because he was all furry and and Super Saiyan 4. And so I didn't calculate the amount of air properly, and I was really tired, so I wasn't very sharp, and I was doing Kamehameha, and I started passing out, and I remember as I was falling in the padded booth, I remember either saying or thinking, this is fun. And it was very fun. I lost consciousness for about 2 seconds. It was really very short. Hit the foam on the ground, and I was like, whoa. I didn't go exactly the way I planned, And then I got up and did it again. It was fine, but yeah, never on the Dragon Ball Z stuff. Nah, I've always felt like I've been a real good control of my breath because of playing brass instruments. So I was surprised I was passing out because I'd done a lot of years of breathing training and playing. So I was really surprised that it happened. And I'm not really embarrassed by it. I think it's a funny story, but not doing the Super Saiyan 3 transformation, not doing 1, 2, or 3, not doing any of the Kamehamehas, not once. Just in Dragon Ball GT that one time. So hopefully that will become a viral internet meme, and then people will know what's going on. So, we have plenty of time still. Excellent. Up front here, this guy right here. Yes.
All right. I want to know if you had any slip-ups while getting into character. I mean, sometimes you can be like thinking, oh well, I have to do King Kai, and then be like, crap.
Are you asking me if I have...
If I need any slip-ups while trying to get into character with your voice.
Oh, so, not outtakes, but have I ever started to do the voice, and in voiceover they call that you're not on voice, and that does happen to me very rarely, because usually what they'll do is keep what's called a vocal reference. They'll say a vocal ref, and when I go to work, I'll say, can I have a vocal ref, and they have a file, and they play it, and usually the second I hear it, I instantaneously get it. Now Goku's a different story because I played the character for so long. I haven't needed a vocal ref in many, many years, but when I'm doing like a bunch of voices around Manhattan, and I did this voice once 6 weeks ago, and I go, we need a pickup line for it, they'll save a vocal ref, and if they don't have a vocal ref, they might go, I don't think you're on voice, so we gotta, and so usually you'll have, most voice actors pick what's called a hook, or a line, or something they say that automatically gets into the voice. For me, it's always, hey, it's me, Goku! Because that's like the happiest-go-lucky place, he is in, and that's where he needs to be for when he starts. And then from there I can do the other 2 emotions he has, which is either angry or happy. Pretty much. Yeah, that's a very good question, and there are techniques voice actors use to get into character. And sometimes getting into character is, you have to get to the emotional state of it. I played a character called Rio in Shaman King. Do you guys ever watch Shaman King? I played Rio and Amidamaro. and I had to play Miramaru. I'm Barrio, and I had to do the Spanish, so I was trying to do the Spanish Antonio Banderas type of, so my reference was Antonio Banderas and Ricardo Montalban mixed with Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live doing this is the Antonio Banderas, how you say, yes, show. So I go and I go, this is Antonio Banderas, how you say, yes, show. And then I was ready to Puerto Rico. And then his hook was, when you ask for a piece of Rio, you get the old pie. And so I actually had vision problems because I always wanted to squint when I was doing it. And for weeks and weeks of doing it, I'm starting to squint too much and I was getting headaches. And so there's different hooks with those kinds of characters, you know what I'm saying? So I hope that's close enough for you guys are experts of the Spanish accent, I'm sure. So, because you speak the language. So I hope I did a good job. I hope you guys went, that's a crappy Spanish accent. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You always want to do it right, So yes, you, Mr. Clean. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you, buddy.
What was your inspiration in becoming a voice actor?
What's your inspiration in becoming a voice actor?
Accidentally? Here's the weird thing about it, and this is advice I can give to young people, I hope, is that sometimes you find out what you are in life after you're there in life and you didn't realize you wanted to be that until you got it. So some people grow up and they're little kids and they're like, I'm going to be an astronaut, and they go be an astronaut. Or I'm going to be a lawyer, and they go be a lawyer. Or I'm going to do this, I'm going to, run a company or whatever, and they go do it. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a professional French hornist. And I had basically almost kind of a weird vision, and I decided to go do that, and that's what I was going to do. But I didn't know that really my destiny lied in voice acting until the first day I got in Dragon Ball Z, because when I was a little boy, I naturally always was doing voices. I was very naturally interested in the way people talk and how they talk. And in fact, I love the way you're talking just now is very interesting to me. I love your accent. You have a very wonderful sounding, right away I'm hooked into it. So I like the way you talk. I really do. It's very unique. When people don't have a unique way of talking, it's fine, I just get bored. I mean, not with the person, but I'm just like, okay. And I can't do impressions of people who don't, it's hard for me to do impressions of people who don't have a hook, is what I call it. A unique raspiness, or a way of saying words, or a funny inflection, or a unique way of talking. So as a boy, I would get bored with black and white television, 1950s movies, and I'd turn on the volume, and I would just make up voices and make them talk on the fly. Nice. Or I would look in rock and roll magazines, and you'd have the singer doing this, and the guitar player doing this, and I would sit with my brother and I go, that guy looks like he talks like this, and then I'd do a voice, and that guy looks like he talks like, and I would just do it over and over as a little boy. So I'm doing this my whole life, and then as I got into high school and college, I would go to parties and I would do impressions. I'd do Popeye things, hold me down, I'd do Popeye, hello, Frankie Ford, or hello, this is your Uncle Grover, I would do, and so my friends would be like, they would say, do an impression of Popeye doing Grover, and they'd take me to a party and see how many impressions I could do. Now, the reason I'm telling you this long story is because this all culminated in leading up to when I got to Dragon Ball Z, right? So I'm doing voices all the time, doing impersonations. It's just a fun thing to me. Very briefly, I did stand-up comedy where I would do like Arnold Schwarzenegger talking or something. I would do impersonations, right? And then, that's so funny. I'm like, that's great. Yeah, but I'm going to go be a French horn player. I'm going to go play in orchestras. I'm going to teach my students. I had students, And so when the Dragon Ball Z audition came up, I had already been training for like 20 years without realizing it. I was 29, 30, I guess. 20, 30, 25 years I'd been doing all the time. It's just something fun to do. I loved it, right? So then I get to the audition, and before I auditioned, my friend's like, you got to audition for this. And I'm like, I don't want to audition. I want to play a French horn. They go, no, you nail it. I go, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. That Dragon Ball Z audition was way easier than any it was so easy. I remember walking to that going, this is a piece of cake. Because I had been training as a musician for 10 years before that, and voice acting is all melody and music for me. So all the audio training, like when I had to do the audition, to me the mouth flaps were the conductor and the lines were the music, and it all just clicked right that. And so what happened was, and I'm going to go back to my original thesis statement, which is sometimes you end up realizing your destiny before you get it. And so when I first stepped into the booth, I thought being a horn player was the greatest thing I'd ever done, and when I stepped into the booth, I felt like I'd come home. I really did. And I was like, this is where I'm meant to be, and this is what I'm going to do. And it was the greatest, it still is the greatest feeling in the world. I've been doing it since my first voice acting job was Dragon Ball Z in 1999, and I've done about 70 different characters on about 30 or so different shows since then. And I love it. And the second I stop loving it, I'll do something else. But that's kind of how I get my inspiration. But the point is, of all the stories that you might think you want to be a lawyer, and you might think you want to be a doctor, or whatever it is you want to be, and go ahead, fine, if you want to go do that. And if you're miserable, it's probably a good sign that you shouldn't be doing it. Because if you're doing it because your parents want you to. But the second you find that thing that lights up your head so much, you're almost addicted to it, unless it's something bad for you. That's the thing that you want to be doing. And that's my advice. That thing that lights you up, because when I go to work, I don't go to work. I go to fun every day.
Yeah.
You're fun that.
What?
You're fun that.
What did you say?
Funland.
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 All right, sweet. So that's the long answer, which I tend to give. Let's see. Let's get that girl hopping with the maid costume. Hopping helps if you're trying to get a question answered.
When you're auditioning for a character or anything of the sort, do they give you an idea of the sort of voice that you should do, or do you get creative freedom in the voice that the character gets?
Very, very, very good question. And this goes many different ways in voiceover. The more data I get, the better. One thing there are two things that frustrate me. If I go to an audition and they don't know what they want, I get really pissed because I'm like, why don't you guys get your act together instead? Unless you really want me to create a character right here. It's like, okay, here's a character and he's a frog, so make up a voice. I'm like, okay, well I got about 10,000 frog voices I'm thinking of right now. Can we please narrow it down to 3? Because they don't realize that when you're a voice actor, your head is full of voices. So I like it. My favorite thing is when they have what's called a breakdown or a side. And my favorite thing is they'll have a picture of the character, because I love seeing the structure of how it's drawn, so I can look at the facial structure, a background, an emotional description. I don't mind it sometimes if they say it sounds like this famous person or that person. It does irritate me because they assume that you've watched every movie that's come out and I haven't. So they go, oh, it's like so-and-so and so-and-so. I go, well, I didn't see that movie. So now I don't know what to do with it, right? They tend to not like accents. I love using accents, especially if it's a character. Sometimes they go, well, he's a British character, but don't give him an accent. I'm like, really? Really? And then they'll have a breakdown of the script with dialogue. Those are the best ones. And then when you go in and you see some of the animation, that's even better. Now, a lot of times you don't have the animation, so you get to see storyboards. And if you don't get to see storyboards, the best you can do is, what I'll do is, let's say, for example, they have nothing. And it's a character, and I'll say, oh, I'll start asking questions. So I'm a very aggressive auditioner. And I think if you are, you should always be very aggressive. What I mean by aggressive is not aggressive, but I'm very assertive, I guess is a better word. I will ask questions. Where are they from? What do they look like? How tall are they? Am I the hero? Am I the enemy? Does this person like me? Do they not like me? Is it a smooth voice? Is it a high voice? Is it a low voice? Is it a gravelly voice? Is it, does he have an accent? And so after I get an idea, I'll just stop them. I'll go, I got an idea. And usually good directors, when they see an actor light up, they go, okay, good, go with that. And then I'll do a voice. And a lot of times I'll do a voice and they'll say, okay, shave off the Brit just a little bit, or if it's a British accent, or they'll say, shave off the gravel, I'm doing a voice down here. And they go, shave it off, so I have to make it a little smoother. And I go, do you want it to be more noble and talk like this, or do you want to make it a little slow? You want to make it courtney. Do you want to, what you want to take, right? So, and they'll ask you to hint at it. One thing I don't like is when they want you to half-ass something. I'm like, now, if I'm doing kind of an accent, well, we don't want to offend anybody. But if I do it right, I won't offend anybody. If I do it wrong, it'll sound like I'm doing a mockery of someone, and if you're a good actor, you'll do it. So if they ask me to do kind of an accent, then I'm like, okay, now people are listening to this and saying, oh, Sean Schemmel was bad at Turkish accents or Australian accents, or, because that director told me, well, just do it kind of. No, my attitude toward it, there isn't kind of in voice acting. There's all the way and not. That's the way I see it. It's just, I'm very extreme like that because commitment makes believability for you. And so when you're watching it, and you can tell, you guys aren't stupid. You can tell, oh God, that's such a lame commitment to that Kamehameha. That doesn't look as awesome as the animation. Or that is so, I could hear him dropping out a voice at the end. Oh, he did some of the words in British, and then some of them are in English. That sounds totally crappy. And when it sounds crappy, you won't believe it, and then your experience for the suspension of disbelief, which is what required to watch fiction and entertainment, is gone. So that's the whole reason why I'm that aggressive. And I will do sneaky things. I'll do sneaky things like, let's say, shave off the Brit, and then I won't shave it off, and they go, oh yeah, that's good. In musical circles, they have this thing called the producer button, and that's when the producer comes in, doesn't know jack, and it's a button that does nothing on the console, and they'll go, hey, we don't like, could you sweeten that up a bit? And they'll turn this knob that does nothing, and then the producer will go, yeah, I like it now. Because a lot of times producers just don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to that. They're organizational people, they're bringing the project together, but sometimes they're not always good at the artistic aspects of it. So I use my producer button, and I'll say, well, I did it differently. How do you like that? And I know I didn't do it different. In fact, when we were first working on Dragon Ball Z, we would do a take, and the director's like, okay, and he would direct me like a jillion different times. And we're getting so frustrated, and they'll go, okay, I like that one. And then just for kicks, at the end of the session, we played the first take I did, and the last one that he finally directed me to, and it was identical. So we're like, yeah, come on, man. So that's, I hope that answered your question, because I kind of explored there. And I hope that was helpful. So that's how you do it. You want to break down, and by the way, one aspect I didn't say is there's also kind of a spiritual aspect of it. Have you ever looked at a certain, like you turn around, you look at the guy's shirt behind you, Thor, he's got on his shirt. How does he make you feel when you see that? What is that power that makes you feel? What voice comes out of that mouth? You know, and then we factor in, oh, he's from Asgard. So is it a Norse accent? Or is it, whatever, and is it deep, or is it high? Or is there an accident that happened to his voice and he can't talk? So how things make me feel when I see them, they'll speak to you, so to speak, and then that comes out of your mouth, and that's, it's kind of a spiritual experience too. It's not all technical like I was describing. It's highly emotional. So I hope that's a helpful answer. Yes, with the hair. I'm going to get some people in the back here in a second, I promise.
How do you felt when the whole Dragon Ball Z GT series ended?
We had mixed feelings about that because we love the show when we work on it, and of course, if you do something long enough, you can get tired of it. You can get tired of screaming. Trust me. So it was a mixed feeling of bittersweet, sad it's over, but like kind of the end of a chapter. And so we're moving on with our lives, and then a few years later, they're like, oh, we're going to do Dragon Ball Z Kai. And we were actually really excited because we knew we were going to get to redo a lot of things that we felt gotten wrong the first time around. And so we were able to correct a lot of those things. And that's kind of unprecedented in the dubbing world in anime, to be able to redo stuff that you've done before. So we were kind of lovingly sick of it, but you know what I mean? It's a weird thing. If you work a job for a long time, you can't get tired of it. And we've been doing it for years at that point. So, but like I said, Goku and the whole Dragon Ball Z thing, I mean, I owe my whole life to the show. Really, I do.
You guys actually left it's over 9,000 line in Kai, right?
Yeah, we did. I believe we did. Yeah, we did.
In the original Japanese, it's like 8,000.
Yeah.
I believe it's like an inside joke from...
We did that because even though we were doing the Japanese script identically, we decided to leave it in because we knew it and we thought the kids would like it. So we said, it's over 9,000. So, so Chris will oftentimes write 9,000 and then draw a line and then write the word "it's" on his autograph. Get it? It's over. Wait, no, it's over the word 9,000. That's right. I got it backwards. I write the word "it's," then draw a line, then write 9,000.
It's 9,000!
It's over 9,000! I'll do that in a second. Okay, let's get some people in the back, because I've been picking out. Way back here, Jesus here. I give people nicknames all the time. We kind of look like the new Jason Mraz, kind of.
Well, actually, on the subject that he was talking about, I was about to ask you if, when they redid the script, did you have any kind of favorite lines that were left out that you couldn't redo or do over?
I only missed, I was happy that the script was nearly identical to the Japanese. I was very happy about that. I did miss a couple of the filler parts that they cut out that weren't in the manga, that were in Z, that they cut out of Kai, because they were trying to make Kai identical to the manga, such as the driving episodes, where they go to driving school. I love that. That was really, really funny, and I was really hoping to do it. We were actually looking, are the driving episodes in the manga? Are they in the manga? We're looking for them. And when we did Kai, we frequently stopped the session, and we would pull up the Japanese translation to make sure that we were matching up. Because we can see it was very loose, because Funimation was trying to make it very palatable for American audiences, kind of like what they did with Pokemon. And, I can't fault them for that on one hand, because I understand they're making a business decision, but I feel like the story of Dragon Ball Z is so powerful, because it's based on the legend of the Monkey King and the Great Journey West, that if they just gambled on it being a hit the way it was, it could have been bigger the first time around, in my opinion. That's, just my opinion, having played the character for 5 years. So yes, you're the only one to raise your hand, so you win.
What do you think about Dragon Ball Z Abridged?
I get this question a lot, and I think it's very funny. I have watched a little bit of it. I think it's very funny. I do think it's striding on thin ice in terms of plagiarism. You know, it's they say it's a parody. I really wish they'd write their own stuff. I think it's funny, and I think they should write original stuff. I don't do lines from it because it's not my work, and it's you know, also kind of like, if that would be like me doing one of, you know, Chris Sabat's lines or Tom, they're their own voice actors, they're doing their thing, you know, they can do it. It's hard for me to validate that because I feel so strongly about the original, and the fact of the matter is we have enough outtakes and enough funny stuff that we've done that we could have done something like that, but we didn't because we can't legally do it. And Toye has asked them several times to take it down, and they haven't yet, and I think Funimation turns a blind eye to it, I'm not sure. So I have mixed feelings about it because I believe in parodies, but I also, because when I watch it, I think it's funny. It makes me laugh. It's definitely very funny. But yeah, so I'm not going to be doing any vocalizations from that, if that was the next question. Yes, in the middle here. Yes, with the triangle thing. You have a triangle, yeah, right there, you're pointing at.
Have you ever seen the Dragon Ball Evolution movie?
Okay.
I knew that question was coming up.
And if you have, what's your feel about it? What would you change? Everything, but specifically.
I'm going to drink some water here for this. I have mixed feelings about that. I will say, I have not seen the movie.
Good for you!
In fairness to a hard-working production team and the talent, and I think those actors are very talented because I've seen a lot of their other work. And in fairness to the director, if I were going to give it a nice review based on the trailer, I would give it this review. If it were a loosely inspired kind of parallel universe, something sort of like Dragon Ball Z, kind of maybe a little bit with characters that kind of look Dragon Ball Z and some kid who says Kamehameha, it might be an okay movie. That's my nice review.
They made, some guys from the UK, actually, they're making a fan film. And it looks way better.
It looks better.
No, dude, way better.
I want to see it.
I want to send it to you.
Send it to me. I want to see it.
I saw that like a week ago, and I went, okay, this is the movie.
I want to see it. The other thing was, I never saw the part where Justin Chatwin, who I think is a fine actor, does a Kamehameha. I was really disappointed. He ain't got no Kamehameha on me. And I wish I could have been his Kamehameha coach. So look, here's how you gotta do it, dude. And actually, the Kamehameha, without sounding too pretentious, is a really specific thing. There's actually 3 or 4 different ones I do, and one of which, I didn't want it to sound the same every time. So you have ones that go Kamehameha, and you got other ones that go da 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 da. And anytime it's nasty or flat, I try to do a flat 5, flat 7 kind of chord thing, to where it's more cutting, and I'll bend it. Or sometimes you can hear some of the Kamehamehas that are very smooth, and sometimes like it depends on how mad Goku is. I try to vary it up, and I also had this stupid idea when I first got on the show that somehow I could make every fight reaction different, not realizing that there are about 8 million fight reactions in Dragon Ball Z. So my first episode, I'm like, oh, I'll make this sound different than that, and that sound like different. Man, and to this day, I still try to do it. And all those reactions, when you see them fighting really fast, they're going, that's me doing this. That's what I'm doing in the booth, as fast as I can. So we're not putting a bunch of them together. We're doing it all, like really fast. Because they're going so fast. And I used to try to sneak in words in between, like, that's me, but I only did that once and didn't work. So, yes? Oh, okay, Draco wants to ask me a question from my bodyguard for the weekend. What was your question?
He wanted to ask you what line did you actually use when you got the Goku part?
Oh, well, I don't remember. I know... What was my audition? Well, I didn't use a line. What happened was, when we got to the audition process, we were required to mimic the Canadian cast because they were moving production from Canada to America. So I had to go into a room before my audition and sit there with a VCR and listen to about 12 different voices and do it, and just I was listening to them over and over and imitating them, right? And then we came into a room, not in a recording booth, and there was a panel of people, and they had a script there, and it was 1999, so I don't even remember, and I just remember doing lines, a couple of fight reacts. There was about 12 or 15 lines, a couple of fight reacts, and they said, okay, thank you very much, and that was it. And then, then I did King Kai and Nail as well, so I got that part later. Which is really just me doing an impression of Buddy Hackett because I thought the Canadian King Kai sounded like Buddy Hackett. So I started talking like this and then that copies and King Kai. So that's how that works. So let's see. You with the hat. You with the hat.
My question is more related, to music and to your part of your acting.
Sure.
When you're going to do a voice, especially the Dragon Ball Z voices, Goku. Do you use any scales, any major scales, minor scales?
Well, in the Kamehameha, there's a flatted note.
To tone your voice. Do you use any of that, any of the music theory that would help you with your voicing in any cartoon?
Dragon Ball Z, I thought in music, I naturally think in musical terms all the time as a voice actor. And Dragon Ball Z not so much, except on things like Kamehameha, and also avoiding things like what I call redundant inflection. So say you're saying a line like, and then I don't want to do those things because I call it a redundant inflection because it sounds contrived and stupid. I have in ESL sessions, which is English as a second language, I've had to do, as a voice actor I'll go to a recording studio and I'll say, I'd like to buy an orange. I'm teaching people who don't speak English as a second language, and I've written music notation because they'll be really specific, and I'm like, okay, we're going up here, and I'll actually write notes, and I'll usually write it in hashes or write it in Gregorian chant style because they just use a series of hashes and diamonds, and so I'll either write it that way or I'll write a flat by it, or I'll do it that way. But it's usually kind of a more automatic process to where I'm just kind of doing more like a guitar improvisation than I am actual notating, and I do it very quickly. Only in ESL I had to actually notate because the guy was so specific. I'm like, okay, and what's really frustrating is, because I'm ear training, a lot of times my ear training is better than the guy directing me, with the exception of Chris, because he's also a musician. But so a guy will say, well, I want you to do the inflection like this, and then he'll get it wrong. He'll do the inflection again, and I know it's wrong, and I can't say, you're wrong, dude, because I wanted to, and I used to get really upset. I'm like, no, you're wrong. You were this much flat the first time, and now you're this much flat, and trust me, I know, but then you just sound like a jerk. And, so I'm thinking this, going, okay, I'm just going to do it the way he says it, and I'm going to shut my mouth, and then I'll do it like, not even close sometimes, I'll go, oh yeah, that's it. I'm like, okay, whatever, but not on Dragon Ball Z. Only time I thought music was typically on power-ups, like, I would be thinking about how far I have to go in my range, and, from the low to high, and I would think about it in the Kamehameha, and that's it. That's an interesting question, yeah. Music was, by the way, having music education was massively instrumental in helping me win my Dragon Ball Z audition. I would say it contributed to about 80% of the success for that. Being a musician I strongly recommend music for people because it trains your brain in way other ways that you can use in math, science, literature. Music is extraordinarily important to the human brain, and there are scientific studies that prove this on a physiological level, and so it's a fact. Yes, you. Yes, with the glasses and the hair. Supergirl or whatever, Wonder Woman, whatever you want.
So, in your experience, what do you think makes a voice actor great? Because a lot of people say I can voice act, and we see many, but they're not really good. So what do you think makes a voice actor good?
Say that again. Say the first part again. You said a lot of people say what?
There's a lot of voice actors. There's a lot of.
So they say that they're actually good, but they're not.
A voice actor themselves is saying they're good and they're not.
Some people will say that.
Because everybody can say, oh, I can voice, and you can see them growing characters.
So, I'm sorry, I'm still confused.
Okay.
And I tend to do this. I'm kind of goofy like
What
Goku.
makes a voice actor great?
Acting. In other words,
acting.
Can you emote? And the reason I wanted to hear the first part of your question again is because it was helping me understand what exactly the answer you're looking for. You're saying that some people like the general populace will say this voice actor is great and they're not, or are you saying that a voice actor will say they are great and they're not? The former? Okay. Art is a subjective thing. And there are some music artists, I'm a music snob to some degree, that I think suck, that everybody likes. And there are some people that are great that, everybody likes. What makes a voice actor great to me is the ability to act. And what I mean by the ability to act is, can they convincingly suspend your disbelief? Even if, and there's some actors like this who don't necessarily do the best accents or don't necessarily do the best voices, but they're such strong actors, you don't give a crap. You know, they're so good, you're just blown away by their energy. Speaking of acting, I never saw Daniel Day-Lewis act until There Will Be Blood. I never saw it. And I think there's a bunch of really great Hollywood A-list actors, not very many of whom I'm very impressed with. I'm like, they did a fine job. They're good. I saw Daniel Day-Lewis and I'm like, that is acting. To me, that is what you do when you're acting. That total transformation and that ability to, I believed he had a psychological disorder. It's an illusion. I've likened what I do to being called an emotional illusionist. I'm trying to make you think or feel a certain way with just the sound of my voice. Now the animation helps, of course, you're seeing a facial expression. And by the way, when you're dubbing, one of the cardinal rule for me when I'm dubbing versus prelay, and I'll tell you what prelay is later, the cardinal rule is if I'm watching it and it doesn't sound like it looks, I'm not doing my job right. So when I first saw the power-ups and the yelling, I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to do this? Because that is just, to get my voice to sound that awesome, before they process it, and all they do is use compression and some reverb. They don't do any other stuff. It's me yelling, but they, maybe use some equalization or something. So acting, and what makes a great voice actor is the ability to also take a badly written line and make it awesome. Because well-written lines are really easy to do, and I love those lines because it makes my job really easy. I'll look at it and go, I know exactly how I want to read this, and it's so obvious. But when it's a crappy line and you can still sell it, that's a good and a bad thing, because if you're a really good actor, I have sold a crappy line or a good read that shouldn't have been there because the director wasn't smart enough or good enough to go, you know what, Sean, that's good, and I believe you because you're a very convincing person, but I know there's a better one in you. The good directors will challenge me. I love it because I'm a very aggressive person in the booth. I know what I want, I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give it to you 100%. And that can be very convincing. So a lot of times when it's a novice director, they'll go, that was great. You were Goku. And I'm like, don't do that to me. I want you to challenge me. I want you to say, you can do this, or you can do that, or you could tweak this in a way. And especially if it's something I haven't thought of or it's insightful. And if you can take that direction and give it to the director and they go, you're giving me what you want, that's also a sign of a great voice actor in my opinion. I admire vocal versatility. It's kind of my thing. I love Mel Blanc for that. And there's some shows I'm watching right now that I've gotten into because of my girlfriend. She got me back into animation because another trap I've gotten into is when you become a voice actor, you're doing it all the time and for so long, you kind of get in your own creative bubble. You can get into an artistic stunt. You can get stunted and you start getting convinced that, I know what I'm doing. And you get kind of an ego, not that you think you're better than anybody else, but you don't really want to take in any new data. And I got good at voices by listening to other voice actors. So I stopped doing that in the recent years. And my girlfriend just said, you got to watch it. She loves cartoons and that's all we watch practically. And she goes, you got to watch these shows. And when I first started watching it, they were takes on voices and characters that aren't choices I would have made. And at first I was like, I don't like that. But then now that I'm watching, I'm like, it's giving me good ideas. It's breathing new fire and new life. Because no artist is an island. And you can become an island when you do a lot of work. And so if you look at any great artist, any great painter, any great musician, you can always hear their influences. But the good ones make it into something new. And then another thing, a thing that makes a great actor, in my opinion, is to make it fresh every time. You want to make it just like you've never done it before. And that's one of my favorite. When I was a French hornist, I played the Mozart Concerto over 1,000 times. I make it exactly the same. Probably that's not having a very good memory, but but yeah, I hope that answered your question. How much time do we have? We have 5 minutes. I'm gonna try to do some short answer questions. Let's get this guy way over here with the hat. Yeah, I'm trying to get some people in the back. Maybe we'll get you next. This girl over here. Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever done or considered doing some live action roles, or if you have, what's the difference in the challenge of doing voice acting and live action acting, and if not, why not?
Okay, a 5-part question. Yes. I'm gonna try to. I can't answer like that. I've done some live acting. I've done some independent films. I tend to like voice acting more than I did a JetBlue commercial recently, which I love the results of it, but I hated the process. It was grueling because you're there on set all day and you're exhausted, and it didn't pay as well actually as voice acting. But I enjoyed working for them, and I enjoyed the net product. It's a harder task. There's a certain amount of freedom, and you're also accessing your whole body, And you're also more vulnerable. I mean, you have to do an independent film, and their script requires you to get naked. Well, if I got to get naked in the cartoon's getting naked, not me. So there's personal things that can happen that you got to be okay with, and sometimes when you have to act a really violent scene, you got to really be mean to someone to their face. You know, I caught myself in the independent film I do apologizing to the other cast members because, you know, when I act, I'm just going to let you have it. And luckily, professional actors, you know, they usually, oh, it's okay. But I still feel like it has an effect. You know, I know actors are like, oh, it's okay. And then, of course, when you're doing comedy, which is what I love, that's always awesome. I've done improv with some of my fellow cast members at Anime Boston, and I love doing improv. So that is really, really fun. But you're using your whole body, and you know, you have to look a certain way. They'll pick on your weight, they'll pick on your size, they'll pick on whatever, or you know what you look like. And I go to work in sweats or t-shirt, or you know, sometimes I don't even shower. You know, when I go to voice, and I recorded all of Dragon Ball Z in no shoes. I don't know. I was more comfortable doing Goku with no shoes on for some reason. I don't know. And I hope that answers your question. We have one more over here, this young lady. We'll do some Kamehameha and we'll get out of here. How you doing?
Yes, JT, what was your reaction when you saw that Goku transforming from Giant on the 8 to Super Saiyan 4?
What was my reaction when he went from a Giant 8 to Super Saiyan 4? Well, I mean, I didn't have a reaction to it. I mean, to me it was just kind of a logical progression. Okay, we're going to Super Saiyan 3, so what's next? Super Saiyan 5, you know. I mean, I thought it was cool he was furry. You know, and that was kind of cool, and he looked different. The thing is that I enjoy GT, although from what I understand, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's not Akira Toriyama's work. It's not. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool show, and they had good writers on it. Going to a giant ape again and starting over with Goku being a little boy again. On the one hand, I wasn't sure if the Japanese were trying to get a little more mileage out of it. You know, I thought it would have been cooler if Goku was gone for a lot of years, and you know, is old or much older, maybe 50 or 60, and he mysteriously, you don't know who he is, shows up out of retirement and is training some young punk on like Karate Kid or something. You know, I thought that would have been cool. Or he just shows up and saves the day and disappears or whatever, some kind of Goku much later in life, which would be very interesting. You know, I don't know if his adventures in the Nether Realm or space and time would be interesting. It depends on how they wrote it. So I thought it was cool, but it was like kind of an obvious progression to me, you know. But it's cool. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. I want to do Kamehameha for you guys because everybody's been asking all day. I want to thank all the Puerto Ricans here today for coming out. All you people are wonderful. You guys are great. This is one of the warmest receptions I've had in any show. And I'll just say, Kamehameha.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a welcome to Sean Schemmel.
Thank you so much.
No se vayan, que ahora viene la señorita, ahora dice Sean.